travel back 300 million years to the Carboniferous period, where you will witness our ancestors stepping onto land for the first time. You might also see other massive, terrifying creatures. Imagine what it would be like if something climbed onto you. These primitive creatures were among the first to colonize the land, already mastering the challenges of their environment. At the same time, the skies were dominated by giant insects. Can you imagine being bitten by a 1-meter-long centipede? What's more significant is that during this period, the ancestors of all dinosaurs began to rise. You've arrived in a time when reptiles ruled the world. In the previous era, you witnessed the mass extinction caused by a massive volcanic eruption, where the oceans turned into a hell for animals, but the land saw a flourishing of life. Countless plants rapidly proliferated, and the oxygen levels in the atmosphere soared. When you explore the land, you will find that some air-breathing fish made a bold decision to leave the water and survive on land. They had already made the most significant evolutionary leap, abandoning gills and beginning to breathe with primitive lungs. This meant that these fish could now obtain oxygen on land. However, they were latecomers to the party. Long before them, a group of animals called amphibians had already conquered the land. Their bodies had grown larger, reaching over 3 meters in length, similar to other giant creatures of this period. Evolution is never linear, and even a small mistake can lead to a branching path. Some amphibians continued to live both in water and on land, and over millions of years, this process gradually transformed their fins into limbs. If you venture deep into the forest, you will see that the number of insects is overwhelming, and their bodies are extraordinarily large. A single spider could be as big as a pot in your kitchen. During this period, dragonflies also appeared on the historical stage. These creatures were almost perfect flyers, with 4 specially structured wings that allowed them to move with unparalleled agility in any direction. This evolutionary trait has persisted for hundreds of millions of years, making them difficult for even modern humans to capture. If you continue to explore the marshlands, you will be horrified to discover that some of the creatures here are as large as cars. A creature called the giant millipede ruled this era. This large arthropod had no eyes, relying solely on its sense of touch and smell to navigate. Because of this, they evolved incredibly strong sensory abilities, especially during the breeding season when they needed to find a mate among the trees. When these creatures gather together, they form a massive interlocking mass, standing like a statue. The reason these arthropods grew so large is due to the flourishing of plants during this period, which caused the oxygen levels in the atmosphere to spike. The higher the oxygen levels, the larger the creatures grew. However, this abundance of oxygen wasn't all good news. Once the oxygen levels reached a certain threshold, a single spark could ignite the air. During the Carboniferous period, Earth's continents began to shift and slowly came together to form a supercontinent called Pangaea. Although the supercontinent was not fully formed, these massive geological changes had a significant impact on life on Earth. For example, amphibians, which laid their eggs in water because their skin couldn't tolerate prolonged dryness, faced a challenge as some water sources dried up with the merging of the continents. To adapt, they evolved a new strategy, creating a water retention system of their own. After tens of thousands of years of evolution, the egg appeared. Animals that hatched from these eggs were the ancestors of amniotes. These small creatures, upon hatching, possessed a complete respiratory system. The greatest advantage of laying eggs was that they could now survive away from their water source and thrive on the vast lands. With the appearance of amniotes, the Carboniferous period came to an end, giving way to the Permian period.